Hello, boys. Let us continue the second part of your history subject, chapter number 4. What books and burials tell us? Let us see page number 39. Before this, I want to say in our previous part of the chapter, we have learned uh, one of the oldest books in the world, that is Rig Vedas, different Vedas we have learned, and uh, important God's name and dialogue between Vishwamitra and river beasts and shootlace, then cattle, horses, and chariots about that, then words to describe people. We have done so far in the first part of the chapter. Now let us see page number 39. Silent Sentinels, the story of the megaliths. Sentinels means like armies who stood straight without any movement. And the megaliths means a large stone that forms a prehistoric monument. Look at the illustration on the next page. Have a look in the next page, boys. This illustration you can see here. This type of megalith is known as schist. Some schists, like the one shown here, have portholes which could be used as an entrance. So now let us back to the page number 39 to continue the chapter. These stone boulders are known as megaliths. You can see in that page in the illustration that it is made of stone boulders. Big stones are placed there to make that. Literally big stones. Megalith means literally big stones. These were carefully arranged by people and were used to mark burial sites. So these stones were carefully arranged by people and were used to mark burial, where that means uh, dead bodies buried there, known as burial sites. The practice of erecting megaliths began about 3000 years ago and was prevalent throughout the Deccan, South India, in the Northeast, and Kashmir. So, the practice of erecting or making that megaliths, it began about 3000 years ago and was going on, that means throughout the Deccan. Deccan means South India, in the Northeast, and Kashmir. Some important megalith sites, let us see in the next page. Some important megalithic sites are shown on map 2, page 13, while some megaliths can be seen on the surface. Other megalithic burials are often underground. I already told you burials. These are the act of placing a dead person in a grave. So some important megalithic denoting prehistoric monuments made of large stone. Megalithic sites are shown on page number 2 on map 2, okay, page 13. Sorry, it should be map 2, page 13. While some megalithic can be seen on the surface, other megalithic burials are often underground. So other megalithic burials, these are under the ground. Sometimes archaeologists find a circle of stone boulders or a single large stone standing on the ground. So sometimes our archaeologists they find a circle of stone boulders or a single large stone standing on the ground. This system it is persisted nowadays also, especially for Christian community. These are the only indications that there are burials beneath. So these are only indication. It indicates what? That there are burials under that place, under that big stone. There were several things that people did to make megaliths. We have made a list here. Try and arrange them in the correct order. Digging pits in the earth, transporting stones, breaking boulders, placing stones in position, finding suitable stone, shaping stones, then burying the dead. All these burials have some common features. Generally, the dead were buried with distinctive pots, which are called black and red ware. So all these burials they have some common features. And they are generally the dead were buried with distinctive pots, which are called black and red ware. Also found are tools and weapons of iron and sometimes skeletons of horses, horse equipment, and ornaments of stone and gold. So such things were also found. Was iron used in the Harappan cities? See here, iron equipment found from megalithic burials, left top, horse equipment, left below, axis below a dagger. Finding out about social differences. Archaeologists think that objects found with a skeleton probably belong to the dead person. Okay, here archaeologists they think who deals that means what are there inside the earth. They think that objects found with a skeleton almost certainly belonged to the dead person. Sometimes more objects are found in one grave than in another. Find Brahmagiri, it is in the western Ghats of Maharashtra. On map 2, you can see dear boys of page number 13. Here, one skeleton was buried with 33 gold heads, 2 stone beds, 4 copper bangles, and 1 conch shell. Conch means a she animal in a large shell. Okay, so it was found there in the Brahmagiri by our archaeologists. Other skeletons have only a few pots. These finds suggest that there was some difference in status amongst the people who were buried. So the system it was that means a difference there. You can observe from that. Some were rich, others poor. Some chiefs, other followers. Were some burial spots meant for certain families? Sometimes megaliths contain more than one skeleton. This indicates that people, perhaps belonging to the same family, were buried in the same place, though not at the same time. So sometimes megaliths contain more than one skeleton or more than one body there. Only that means bones of more than one person. It indicates that people perhaps belonging to the same family. So this is the belief of our archaeologists, and they were buried in the same place, though not at the same time. The bodies of those who died later were brought into the grave through the potholes. Stone circles or boulders placed on the surface probably served as signposts to find the burial site so that people could return to the same place whenever they wanted to. The bodies of those who died later, those who died afterward, were brought into the grave through the potholes. Potholes means small windows on the outside of ships of aircrafts here, but actually meaning is that so they have one that means mark there or one holes there. With the help of that, it can find stone circles or boulders placed on the surface, probably served as signposts. Signpost means a post supporting a sign or signs with information or direction to find the burial site so that people could return to the same place whenever they wanted to. A special burial at Inamgaon. Find Inamgaon that on map 2. It is given in page number 13. You can see dear boys. It is a site on the river God. River God, God, it is a river. A tributary of the Bhima, a branch of Bhima river. It was occupied between 3600 and 2700 years ago. Here adults were generally buried in the ground, laid out straight with the head towards the north. So it was occupied in between 2600 and 2700 years ago. Here adults body were generally buried in the ground, laid out straight with their with the head was placed towards the north. Sometimes burials were within the houses. Vessels that probably contained food and water were placed with the dead. So sometimes burials were within the houses also kept, and they placed there vessels that probably there's a chance to that means contain food and water were placed with the dead. One man was found buried in a large four-legged clay jar in the courtyard of a five-roomed house, one of the largest houses at the site in the center of the settlement. So one man it was found which was buried in a large four-legged clay jar in the courtyard. Courtyard means in front of your houses, boys. A open space is there that is called courtyard, and that courtyard of a five-roomed house, one of the largest house at the site, in the center of the settlement. Settlements means people where used to live. This house also had a granary. Granary means a storehouse of thresh grain kept here. The body was placed in a cross-legged position. So body it was placed in a cross-legged position or condition. What skeletal studies tell us? Let us see this one also. It is easy to make out the skeleton of a child from its small size. However, there are no major differences in the bones of a girl and a boy. Can we make out whether a skeleton was that of a man or a woman? Just by looking at skeleton, can we that means understand whether that skeleton belongs to man or woman? Sometimes people decide on the basis of what is found with the skeleton. For instance, means for example, if a skeleton is found with jewelry, jewelry means ornaments, bangles, then earrings like that. It is sometimes thought to be that of a woman because women used to wear these bangles, earring. That's why. However, there are problems with this. Often men also wore ornaments. Yes, we can find chain and bangles or rings. These were sometimes used by men also. A better way of figuring out the sex to know that male or female of a skeleton is to look at the bone structure. So better way in order to find out whether that means it is a male or female skeleton is to look at the bone structure. The hip or the pelvic area of women is generally larger to enable childbearing. So the hip or the pelvic area, it is the lower part of the trunk of the human body. Okay, in between the abdomen and the thighs. So that is called pelvic area of women is generally larger to enable childbearing. So from here we can understand these distinctions are based on modern skeletal studies. About 2000 years ago, there was a famous physician named Charaka who wrote a book on medicine known as the Charaka Samhita. There he states that the human body has 360 bones. I think you know that human body has 360 bones. This is a much larger number than the 200 bones that are recognized in modern anatomy. Charaka arrived at this figure by counting the teeth, joints, and cartilage. Cartilage is here. Anatomy means, modern anatomy means, here anatomy is the branch of science concerned with the body structure of humans, animals, and other living organisms. Let us continue this chapter again. Occupations at Inamgaon. So, the livelihood of the people of Inamgaon, let us see. Archaeologists have found seeds of wheat, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas, and sesame. Archaeologists they found seeds of crops such as wheat, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas, and sesame. Bones of a number of animals, many bearing cut marks that show they may have been used as food, have also been found. So, bones of a number of animals, and in which many bearing cut marks that show they may have been used as food by making pieces, have also been found here. These include cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, dog, horse, ass, pig, sambar, spotted deer, blackbuck, antelope, hare, and mongoose. Besides birds, crocodile, turtle, crab, and fish. So these were found here. Proof they found here. Okay. There is evidence that fruits such as bear, amla, jamun, dates, and a variety of berries were collected. So there is proof also. Evidence means proof that fruits like is bear, amla, these are the name of the fruits, jamun, dates, and a variety of berries were used to collected by them. Use this evidence to list the possible occupations of the people at Inamgaon. Elsewhere, let us see, boys. Find China in your atlas. Around 2500 years ago, we find some of the first evidence of writing in China. So, dear boys, around 3500 years ago, we find some of the first proof of writing in China. These writings were on animal bones. These are called oracle bones because they were used to predict the future. Oracle means bones used in ancient China for divination, and it was because they were used to predict the future. Kings got scribes to write questions on the bones. Would they win battles? Scribes means someone employed to make written copies of documents. Would the harvest be good? Would they have sons? The bones were then put into the fire and they cracked because of the heat. Then fortune tellers here studied these cracks and tried to predict the future. Fortune tellers means one who can say about future. So these fortune tellers they studied these cracks and they tried to predict the future. As you may expect, they sometimes made mistakes. These kings lived in palaces, in cities. They amassed means collect, vast quantities of wealth, including large, elaborately decorated bronze vessels. Elaborately means in a detailed, decorated bronze vessels. However, they did not know the use of iron. However, that means they did not know how to use iron. So, list one difference between the Raja of the Rig Veda and these kings. So here you that means can do this one also. Okay, here is the end of the chapter. Let us conclude the chapter here for today. Thank you all.